Welcome to Total Carp Fishing TV. Today we've got Tom from Daiwa down, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at their flagship model rod, which is the Basiair. So Tom, if you can just take us through a few of the specs and sort of what
makes it so special?
Yeah, what makes it so special,
yeah. As we've said, this is the Basiair rod. It's our flagship rod within the Daiwa Carp range. There's three models, a 12 feet 3 1/4, 12 feet 3 3/4, which is what we've got here, and a 13 feet 3 3/4. Now, this does carry a hefty price tag, but believe me when I say it, this truly is a thing of beauty and a superb all-round fishing rod. Not just a casting rod, but for everything you might possibly do.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can see straight away from looking at it just some of the finishing details, how slim the blank is. For a stiff rod as well, it's a very slim blank. Obviously, the Alps reel seat, which I pointed out earlier, is very nice. I've not actually seen one of them in the flesh, which you said is a pretty new reel seat on the market.
Yeah, the AirPad seat from Alps. Yeah, we were certainly the first to do it. Super comfortable and, like you say, a little bit different looking to kind of the more traditional Alps style seats, and just feels really positive regardless of the reel that you're going to stick on it.
Yeah, it's obviously a very ergonomic reel seat, isn't it? I'm not saying the original Alps ones aren't, but they are sort of very beefy reel seat, whereas that's obviously got the sort of the rubberized grip, and yeah, it just fits in your hand a lot nicer, and you obviously get the added benefit of the locking rings as well.
That's right, mate. Yeah, that's right. And obviously for me, a big part of what makes this so special is the carbon itself. It's got our HVF carbon technology, so basically in layman's terms, we've done away with as much resin within the blank and increased the amount of carbon fibres within the cloth. So what that means is you get a really super lightweight rod. This, in actual fact, is our slimmest blank profile from all of our top end rods. And ultimately that increased carbon percentage just makes it so much softer for fish playing, but so much more responsive for casting. So it's the perfect blend, if you ask me, this for an all-round rod.
Yeah, I mean, as we've seen yesterday, obviously we were playing a few fish on it and casting with it. It looks like a very sort of through action rod, but it is a distance rod, like you've said. So obviously take a look at the guides. They're obviously forward guides, if you can sort of take us through them and why those guides are better for casting.
Well, as you've said, they're forward-facing guides with the TI forged air guides. Really popular. They really complement the kind of style of the blank and the seat. Obviously 50mm butt guide. They're super heavy duty as well, these things. You can really throw them around, so you've not got to worry about being too delicate with them. And obviously they're perfect being that shape and profile, whether you're using mono, braid, and personally, I've particularly found them really, really good with fluorocarbon. You don't suffer many frap-ups at all, and just means all lines behave as you'd expect. And obviously we've got an anti-frap tip ring right at the end.
Which is, pretty standard on most rods.
That's
now,
right,
as well. The other thing I noticed as well is obviously when you're putting the rod together, the spigot's sort of really
positive.
It fits together really well.
Yeah.
Some rods are maybe a little bit, you have to push them down, that sort of just slides in and locks into place. So that's only a tiny detail really, but it is worth mentioning.
Definitely, mate. That's the V-joint alpha technology. So that's something Daiwa engineers in Japan and in the UK that we've mastered, whereby we get a real positive spigot joint, like you're saying, but what it means is it doesn't compromise the action of the rod at all. That will still bend throughout exactly the same as the butt and the tip section, so you get a perfect arc when you're bending into a fish or casting.
So it's not basically a hot spot in the rod.
Flat spot. That's right.
Spot, yeah. Obviously, you've got it paired with the 20 tournament Basiair. There is a reel up from that in there, but obviously you've got it paired with that one, which looks perfect and obviously very well balanced. Obviously, I picked it up a minute ago, and you can hold
super
it super
lightweight,
it's
which
ridiculous how light it is.
Personally, I think the weight is a massive thing for this. When you pick it up, it's like you're not holding a rod and reel. It's like a wand.
I think a lot of people always talk about the weight of a reel and a rod.
Yeah.
I've always personally thought, does it really make that much of a difference? Because you're not talking kilos,
You're not holding it for a long time either.
You're talking grams, but actually moving it through the air, it just takes so much less effort. I mean, you was casting yesterday at 33 wraps with solid bags pretty easily, and even though the tip does look quite soft, like the action of the rod just sort of carries itself, and it didn't look like you was putting really much effort into it at all.
Exactly, mate. And I think because this has got X45X full shield technology all the way throughout, which basically means we've got a diagonal carbon weave on top of the blank. What that means is it just makes the rod so crisp and responsive. It means even though this does feel maybe a little bit softer compared to a lot of our competitors 3 3/4, you get all of the fish playing benefits, but ultimately something that's lightning fast.
Yeah. So it basically what that sort of translates into is it's easier to load the rod.
100%.
But then you have also got, like you say, the tip recovery speed. When generally when rods are easier to load,
yeah,
they sometimes
they're a little bit. They might feel a little bit sloppy. Whereas this is, like I say, it's just true and direct with every cast.
Yeah, which is, I think, what you're paying for essentially with 100%. This rod. Like you touched on, it's not a cheap rod by any means. And if you're the kind of person that's going to go out once a month or once every other month, and you're sort of a casual angler, it's maybe not the rod for you. But if you want an out-and-out casting tool and you're fishing quite a lot, then I can't see. Yeah. I can't see why you're not getting value for the money, because it's going to last you as well, isn't it? Like that's the main thing.
Mate,
it's not going to be you pay that money for the rods and then 2 years down the line you buy new ones. They're a lifetime item.
This is a rod for life, exactly. And I think certainly something I'd take from this is the fact that yes, we do 3 models. My favourite personally is a 12-foot 3 3/4. I've been fishing small lakes at 30 yards, and then again at places like this where you could be fishing up to 150 plus. Don't be put off by the test curve. If you wanted a rod to do a bit of everything, a 12-foot 3 3/4 like what I've got here, particularly in all of the Daiwa range, or a 3.5 in some models, would be absolutely perfect. If you're fishing small waters or using bait boats, a 12-foot 3 1/4 maybe. But like I say, particularly in this range, the 12-foot 3 3/4 really is something super, super special.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously touched on that away from the cameras yesterday, that sort of test curves of rods are going up, and I think when you've touched on the carbon technology of this rod, that's probably why, because you're getting a higher test curve with a nicer action, a nicer feeling rod. So
for sure,
even though test curves are going up, it seems like everything's just getting heavier and heavier rod-wise, or stiffer. But generally it's because the carbon's getting so much better. I don't think there's been a massive amount of advancement in carbon over the last sort of 10 years, but I think in this realm of rods especially, just from using it yesterday, I think that's where
there is another level still.
Yeah, it's a bigger curve, but I've enjoyed using it over the past day or so. With the Basiair reel, it's a really lovely combination. I don't think you're going to get really a much more balanced setup than that, are you? It's a beautiful bit of kit. So
no, exactly, mate. I think the technology, the rod and the reel, they perfectly complement each other. And for me, what you can see in front of you is about as good as you can get. That is, if you really appreciate the finer things in life and you're serious about performance, they're well worth checking out.
Now, I know obviously a lot of people are going to think you work for Daiwa, obviously you're going to say that, but I don't work for Daiwa. It is a very, very nice combination. So if you're in the market for a real high-end setup, we know not everyone's going to be, but if you are, go to daiwacarp.com, check out more info.